Well, what is up, everybody? Keith, aka Gator Guy 231. It is Thursday, January 7th. I almost said Wednesday. Thursday, January 7th, here for tonight's NBA starting five. And I should just timestamp this. It is about 3:30 in the afternoon when I'm recording this. I am sure within like 20 minutes of this posting that the Fantasy Labs notifications will come out and Joel Embiid will be out and Colin Sexton will, goes from questionable to out, and all these picks might go to hell. But assuming that we get Joel Embiid in, and I'm going to go over like kind of how you would proceed if he's out, and also that Colin Sexton does end up playing and being like one of the only three healthy guards that Cleveland has, here just be kind of how I am planning to start my lineups. So let's jump into the starting five. Just a quick reminder, bottom right of the screen is the subscribe button. If you have enjoyed the content, especially the NBA that Zach and I put out, or the NFL showdowns that Chris does. We have EuroLeague from Andrew, golf from TK and John. We have so much stuff on this FSI channel you don't want to miss. So hit that subscribe button, and it does really help us out. Also, if you could like a comment, really does show YouTube that we are doing a good job. All right, let's jump into the picks. So I'm going to start the night out, even though I put him down here. There was no rhyme or reason for how I put this. But I do think that more than likely, Kyrie Irving makes my lineup regardless of the news at 9,600. No KD still. We saw him just absolutely erupt versus Utah. I think, guys should look this up. It was like 28 points in the first quarter. And he was so good that they blew Utah out early. And he kind of, took the foot off the gas a little bit the rest of the game. Still finished with 51, had 59 the game before with KD. This is a really good matchup versus Philadelphia, shockingly to me. Because I really thought that Philly should be good defensively. We just saw what Brad Beal did to them last night. Russ Westbrook still 50 DK despite dislocating his finger. All that stuff. I think Kyrie has a really, really good line to 50 points at 9,600. That's great value. And, realistically, if this game were to stay close, you could probably, it is well within the range of outcomes that Kyrie is, shooting for 60 DK. So really like Kyrie at 9,600, planning to build around him. Also in the same game, I think Bruce Brown earned himself another start. He only played 23 minutes versus Utah, but that's because the Nets starters, after they were out in the third quarter, they were done. They had no fourth quarter run. I don't think Bruce checked back in. I was watching because, of course I had the terrible Prince and Jeff Green plays and they didn't come back in. But Bruce Brown's, we remember when he was with the Pistons, was incredibly effective. I was kind of tilting my face off with how well he was playing at the beginning of the game. I just didn't have the guard spots the last slate. Juancho Hernan-Gomez to the rescue in my lineups. But Bruce Brown, just a really good player. He's taken a while to get in the rotation here, but, rewarded Steve Nash with a really solid game, 6-6-5 in 23 minutes versus Utah. This matchup is cleaner. I really do kind of on a back-to-back, I don't know how much I want to worry about Danny Green's defense. I was wondering how they're going to stagger things. I thought Danny Green actually might be on Beal last game, which was okay, maybe that, should hesitate Beal. 60 points later, that was not the right decision. So, I'm really trying to stress to myself this year, don't worry as much about matchups, worry about the spots, worry about the price, worry about how it fits into your lineup and the overall construction of the lineup. Bruce Brown at 3,500, if we could project him even for 23 minutes, I think he's a great value. I think there's a really good chance if the game stays close that we're actually looking at mid to upper 20s. And there's really no reason, for Nash to mess with that, 4 new starters on top of Kyrie last game, and they destroy Utah. So I think that Nash runs that back against Philly tonight. 3,500 for Bruce Brown if starting, just a lock and load. To give you, I'm really going to be laying out a stars and scrubs construction because I think if Joel Embiid does play, that stars and scrubs is probably going to be the optimal way. That will all change if Joel Embiid's out, because I think the likes of Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris are guys that you're going to want to flock to at their prices, because there would be underpriced for the increased role without Embiid. But, if he's in, Philly arguably is mostly a stay away unless you want to use the Danny Green value. All right. Second stud, Nikola Jokic. We have Nikola Jokic and Luka Doncic on the cover. Luka coming up next. We just saw Michael Porter Jr. go out. Funny enough, we had this in our Discord. Somebody was asking about it. And Jokic has actually been better with Porter Jr. on the floor this season, but has been damn good with him off as well. Fresh off of 70 DK drubbing, and the furthest away he's been from a triple-double versus Minnesota last game. But, Jokic is playing massive minutes. Dallas, I don't think there's anybody in the NBA that can deal with Nikola Jokic, much less Dallas. Like, Willie Cauley-Stein will do his best, but Joker is just on a different planet, just with his rebounding, with his assists. He's getting a ton of shots. Just all signs point towards go. I never thought that, we'd be in a situation where like a 10-9 Jokic is a guy that I'm like need to lock in, yet here we are. So Jokic, to me, I think he's more than likely going to be the top scorer on the slate, he or Luka. And then, Kyrie's value puts him up there too. But those are the top three. And let's go to Luka. After looking terrible versus Charlotte, everybody kind of going, what the heck is going on? Stuff coming out about his conditioning. Responded with 58 versus Miami in a tough matchup, right? Tough matchup, Jimmy Butler. Yet here's 59 DK. And then 71 DK versus Houston in a huge triple-double. Denver has, the corpse of Gary Harris. I don't know what's going on with Gary Harris these days. Remember when we all thought he was good, and now he seems like a shell of his former self. But there's nobody that they can put on Luka, nor would it matter. Like, the only thing, we saw Charlotte shut down Trae Young last night, so maybe, Charlotte's just not a good matchup for point guards. I need to look more into that. But all signs for fire and go. We saw D-Russ and Malik Beasley both tear Denver up the last two games. I think Luka, could very much do the same there. And here's the reality. You can make this lineup work, especially with Michael Porter Jr. out. We can now take Facundo Campazzo, guy, former EuroLeague legend, back at like the start of my DFS career, one of my biggest wins ever back in the Olympics, was a hero to us. And now he's playing big minutes for the Nuggets, 21 and 26 the last two games, 3,100. He has a ton of talent, a ton of energy, 15 and 11 real points. Look, 29 DK one game, 15 the next. Get me anywhere in the middle of Facundo, and we are best friends. So I think 3,100. Look, he is only going to be needed if you are doing like that stars and scrubs type of construction. So he, could be easily like a pivot point for me, because I think I'm going to play Bruce Brown if he starts regardless. But if I'm trying to build the three studs, I'm going to use Campazzo to help me get there. I do just want to kind of go over. I mentioned Philly that you'd go probably lock in Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris if you don't have Embiid, and then a big decision point in the slate will be like, what do you do with Dwight Howard? Because his minutes just aren't great. I think one of the things that will be sneaky for GPPs, I'm actually going to do two sneaky GPPs for you, just because I have some time for once. The first thing is Cedi Osman. I don't think anybody's going to be happy to pay $5,700 for Cedi, but if Colin Sexton misses, he's going to be playing a ton of point guard, going to get a ton of usage, and then you could actually pair him with like a guy like Larry Nance Jr., who's also going to be getting like a lot of like point forward type of things at high post. I think like those are two guys that on this type of slate nobody would be like looking for, but watch the Colin Sexton news. I think those are the two that could benefit. And then I just want to just throw out the game that is just going to get like no ownership. And yeah, Minnesota's not been great, so there's always going to be like blowout concerns, because who else is not good? Portland is not good either. So I think that is a really sneaky, low owned, like nobody on it, for those that like the late game hammer, there you go. But easy teams to stack. You could do Russell, Beasley, and Hernan Gomez from Minnesota side, run it back with Lillard, McCollum. Then we finally saw Nurkic showing some life last game. He's a little too cheap, and the matchup is glorious. Like, Minnesota just doesn't have anything on the interior without Cat. So it's a really good chance that if we get the right Nurkic, that could go off. So I think there's a bonus GPP. Like, there's a good chance you might not have any of them in an optimal build. Maybe Hernan Gomez. So I just don't think a lot of people are going to gravitate towards them. I'm definitely going to be running something out. I don't know if it's a $15 or $20 main GPP, but I'm definitely going to run out a Portland, Minnesota game stack, so I can come back here if I spike 100K and say, called it. Guys, thank you all, guys and gals. Thank you all so much for watching. I do hope that this helps. Make sure that you are paying attention to the news. We are officially that time in NBA where the news is just crazy. You have to be on top of it. Shout out to Fantasy Labs NBA, constantly, like by far the best handle. Make sure you're following it. Notifications on so that you are on top of the news. Thank you all once again for watching. If you want more details about FSI memberships or everything we have, look in the details. There's a link to the site and you can check us out. Thank you all again. And with that, I'll say, see you.